Welcome back. Still talking about the U.S. airstrikes in Nigeria. The research professor at Nigeria Institute of International Affairs, Professor Femi Otubanjo, joins us now to discuss the Christmas Day strike on terrorist enclaves in Sokoto State by the United States military. It's good to have you with us, Professor.
Good afternoon. Thank you to have me.
Very good. Now, the strike occurred at the invitation of the Nigerian government. Is that a win-win situation for both countries from a diplomatic point of view, you think?
Volume.
Professor Otubanjo, if you can hear me, can you hear me currently?
I can hear you now.
All right, so
I can hear you now. Can you repeat the question?
Yes, I will. Now, the strike occurred at the invitation of the Nigerian government. Is that a win-win situation for both countries from a diplomatic point of view?
Well, I think the Foreign Affairs Ministry has issued a statement which brings some broad understanding to this event. Talks about structured international cooperation. And that tells us that Nigeria and the United States are working hand in hand on this matter. It is not a matter of unilateral intervention by the U.S. in Nigerian affairs. Trump, of course, did indicate in this bombastic style initially that he was going to attack Nigeria, but that did not make sense. What he was talking about was America wanting to take action on the basis of some perceived genocide of Christians. Obviously, it was obvious that that couldn't be done without the concurrence of the Nigerian government. The Nigerian government has always had bilateral relations, military relations with the United States. So this one is just an aspect of it. You remember the issue of the A-29 Tucano attack planes, which the Obama government did not embargo. We were to buy 12 planes to prosecute our counter-insurgency operations. But the Obama administration was of the opinion that there were too many human rights abuses and so embargoed the sale. But the Trump administration that came after him sold 12 to us. And so that means that we've always had this relationship. Those 12 planes came with not only spare parts, but training, experts, installations, and so on. So the whole broad umbrella of bilateral military relations have always been there, and this one is just an aspect of it. Although it's a more flamboyant aspect, but it's no different from the ones that we do not know about.
Very good, Professor. Now, how will joint military exercises curb the radical nature of terrorists who have shown much resilience in their attack of soft targets, mostly, and prolonging their crimes?
Well, the Nigerian military will benefit from the air support that the Americans are providing. It was always a mystery to many people why the Nigerian Air Force had not been active or successful in that area. I just spoke about the A-29 Tucano strike planes. If you have 12 of such planes, how come bandits are roaming around in a sub-Saharan environment where there's very little tree cover? Unfortunately, the suggestion is that there was no political will to fight them. Now we can see with the intervention of the United States that the federal government has probably shifted a little bit and is more determined to get rid of these bandits. We saw so many pictures of them on social media, having weddings, sharing money, riding their bicycle or motorcycles all over the place. And you have an Air Force in an area that has little foliage and with Tucano aircraft that were apparently not being used. So something was wrong somewhere, and we hope that with this U.S. intervention, which is essentially aerial intervention, they are not going to, I don't see them putting boots on the ground. I don't see them sending soldiers, but we have enough soldiers to do the job. But we can really do a lot with their technical and air support. The air power is a very essential part of warfare, and we know that the Air Force can do a lot of damage for ground troops to move in and take over. So we hope that this will be put a new impetus into the fight against terrorism and banditry in Nigeria. What we read was that, in fact, there was a gathering of bandits and terrorists in Mali and Burkina Faso that were moving into Nigeria to create havoc. That perhaps generated the urgency of this recent strike. But the strike itself is essential. It's important for us as a technical support to our counter-insurgency operations. I think it will ginger our troops to do more. And of course, we can learn a lot from the experience of the Americans.
Following the aftermath of the Trump claims on the attacks on Christians, as it were. So critics have argued on the issue of Nigerian sovereignty regarding foreign intervention in solving a prolonged domestic challenge. Do you align with such a position, Professor?
So can you be talking about sovereignty when your Ministry of Foreign Affairs has issued a statement that they were part of it?
No, I meant initially, that was the initial claims by critics who have questioned the possibility of a U.S. intervention, as it were.
Yeah, the U.S. intervention would have been an attack on our sovereignty if it had been done unilaterally. If it has been done unilaterally, I think there's a problem here.
All right, Professor, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, so I'll ask you the next question. And now,
I can hear you.
Very good. Now, in diplomatic terms, how does the U.S. intervention via invitation, unquote, portray Nigeria regarding an inability to solve a persistent issue over time, even if it has a global dimension?
Well, there's nothing unusual about our inability to deal with terrorism. Terrorism is very difficult to fight. It takes a bit of time. If you look at the experience of the Americans in Vietnam, in Iraq, of Israel in the Middle East, it is not a tea party. It's not a one-day affair. So, of course, it also depends on the determination to fight. I think in Nigeria, religion and region became part of the problem. We have seen arms messengers who are carrying arms, who are policemen, who are soldiers, who are from the same region with the jihadists. So it's a more difficult, we are a complex country and things are more difficult here. One or two leaders have in the past said an attack on Boko Haram was an attack on the north. So you have that kind of complication. And so there's nothing unusual or anything absurd about seeking external support. Somebody said on an earlier program, with Nigeria at every point has always sought the support of foreign countries to help to fight Boko Haram. Been at several meetings in which one of the major issues will be, what are you contributing to Nigeria's fight against Boko Haram? Now you have a contribution. By the United States. It might have started in an awkward way with Trump threatening to invade Nigeria, but that was just hyperbolic. There was no way he could invade what part of Nigeria for what. All he could do was to support our counter-insurgency operations, and that's what he has done. And he's done it in collaboration with the Nigerian government, in full approval of the federal government. And that eliminates the whole question about sovereignty. Sovereignty does not mean that a country cannot cooperate with you, particularly it has more capability to advance your cause. There's no sovereignty when we go to borrow money. We don't talk about sovereignty when we seek other forms of assistance. So sovereignty is not at stake here. And in any case, in terms of danger, countries often cede their sovereignty. If you are attacked and you cannot fight back sufficiently, you have a stronger opponent. That's the situation that we have in Ukraine and Russia. And Ukraine virtually does not see itself as a sovereign country, it just goes about begging people to come and intervene on its behalf. So I don't think we should make too much of sovereignty. In any case, our Minister of Foreign Affairs has told us that they are aware and they are party to the bombing as part of its structured international cooperation. That should be sufficient for us.
Indeed, Professor. Now, due to despite the Nigeria's complex political landscape, as you said, now, what must the Nigerian government do to cut off terror funding and remove their domestic infrastructure in supporting further U.S. strikes?
Well, Nigerian government needs to do more. Neither the previous government and the present one has done anything impressive in the fight against terrorism. I'm extremely disappointed that we are still where we are. Now, it is we're even threatening to get worse. I think we're beginning to allow religion, to allow political aspiration, our election 2027 to intervene. If you decide that you are not going to fight terrorists and bandits because it will be construed to be fighting against the North, then there's a problem. Of course, with Buhari, it was plain that he was not going to fight them because most of the bandits were Fulanis. So, so we now have a Yoruba president who has not really done too much to fight them. And that's a disaster for us because we need a president that is determined. And having set up a state of emergency to fight insecurity, I hope that the Tinubu government will concentrate very severely on eliminating bandits and terrorists wherever they are. We cannot continue this story of people just walking into another village and eliminating people from other tribes, moving around Nigeria, kidnapping and doing all kinds of things. This is a 21st century country, and we cannot have 14th century bandits roaming around. We're not in a jungle, but you cannot be killing hundreds of people on a daily basis and think that you are in a secure country. So there's no doubt that we must put other considerations aside. Our primary concern should be how to secure our people, eliminate bandits, and have security around our country.
Indeed, Professor. Now, it's one thing to strike a terror target, but how do you consolidate to ensure such criminal activities do not reoccur in that same area being struck? The hotly contested Sambisa forest is a case in question which has been on over time now.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt that airstrikes alone will not do it, but airstrikes can do a lot. If you, there's no doubt that airstrikes alone cannot do it. You have to, of course, as we have seen, it's a joint operation. The United States has provided the air component. We also have our own Air Force. I think they will continue where the United States stops, particularly they will do it in partnership with the United States Air Force. But what is happening, what is going to happen, of course, that you now embolden the ground forces, Nigerian military, to move in and complete the route of the bandits and the terrorists wherever they are. It's amazing to me that the Northwest is the one that has been chosen. Our main focus of terrorism was in the Northeast. But of course, there's been a build-up. They must have intelligence about what is going on there. There's been a build-up of an influx of terrorists from other parts of West Africa. And if they think that things are the way they were, they probably now have to have a rethink and run back to where they're coming from. The danger we may face, which we should be conscious of, is that if the bandits are being pursued in the north, I hope they don't start moving towards the south. So we must be very careful that we don't push them in the south, where there's more cover, there's more urbanization, and there's more forests, and they can operate around there more safely. So, but it is important to note that the area of bombardments is a major component of a bigger program of eliminating them, which will involve a lot of Nigerian ground troops.
Indeed, and of course, unfortunately, banditry is gaining ground in parts of Ondo State, with terror dimensions, and we're, seeing signs of that possibility of it moving to the south, as it were. But let me ask you, Professor, politically, what's the implication for the Nigerian government as it seeks re-election in 2027 over this joint military venture?
I beg you to repeat that question again. I'll be happy to listen.
All right. So politically, what's the implication for the Nigerian government as it seeks re-election in 2027 regarding this joint military venture with the United States?
Well, that's assuming that our elections are issue-based. I'm not so sure that it has any great implications. It depends on the perception. If the American involvement is seen as being anti any part of the country, that can create problems for the re-election of the president. But from my experience of Nigerian politics, such issues do not always lead to any major consequences for those in power. Those in power have a way of creating their networks and alliances and getting themselves re-elected or elected. But it still has to be managed. The information about American participation has to be managed. The president of America himself is not helping matters by by couching the operation in terms of killing those who are killing Christians. It's not about Christianity or Islam. It's about bandits, about criminals who have invaded their land, who see Nigeria as a soft option, where the law enforcement is weak, and where the government also has not shown enough depth of commitment to stamping them out once and for all. Now we have an opportunity. It is not a religious thing, which we must avoid couching the matter in religious terms. And we must educate the Americans not to do so as well. The banditry in the north in the northwest has killed more Muslims than Christians. Banditry or terrorism in the middle belt and also naturally, automatically has killed more Christians because there are more Christians concentrated there. It's a matter of geographical location of these religious groups. So the government must be conscious that it needs to convince Nigerians that they are serious about one of the most essential elements of governance, which is providing security. If you cannot secure your people, what are you seeking the election for? What are you seeking the election for? So they must know that if they did not know before, the United States has shown them, made them naked, has opened their nakedness, and they need to cover themselves up with more concrete, more determined, more concerned commitment to fighting terrorism. It's a major problem. Insecurity is a major problem, and we need to solve it for our country to move forward.
Indeed, Professor. Now, how strategic is the timing of this strike? Is it enough to deter terrorists and bandits realistically, you think?
No, I'm not sure I'm able to answer that. I don't know how strategic it is, but it has been long coming since Trump made his pronouncement about invading Nigeria. Nigeria had been communicating with the American government And there were announcements that some agreement had been reached about intelligence and military cooperations. And so it was a matter, the timing is for the military to choose. It's a strategic thing. And the only thing that we did not want to see was to think that doing it on a Christmas day was in support of Christians. You know, we are not looking for support for Christians or Muslims. We are looking for the extermination of banditry and terrorism in our country. It is not, we must not put it that way. If you do it that way, you are going to create bipolarity in Nigeria along religious lines, which will be dangerous for us in the long term.
Indeed, Professor Femi Otubanjo is a professor in the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. We'd like to thank you very much, sir, for your input on those issues. Good to have you with us on Newsday.